I've lived in Boston for about coming up to 5 years now, and it's a fantastic place. One thing I love about Boston is it has 4 distinct seasons. Of course, there's nearly winter, winter, still winter, and construction season. So I love Boston for that reason. I also love Boston because of its history. Any fans of the history in Boston? Yeah, so an 18th century show in an 18th century sort of city, which kind of makes sense, doesn't it? I love the history in Boston. I've learned a lot about concepts in history whilst living in Boston. I've learned a lot about patriotism, or patriotism specifically. I was brought up to be patriotic, to sort of love my queen and country and put them first. And I've learned that since living in Boston that patriotism does not mean love your queen and country, does it? No. It means start an armed insurrection because you don't want to pay taxes, ladies and gentlemen. No, that's a cheap shot at history, ladies and gentlemen. But patriotism does have a separate meaning in Boston. As I say, it doesn't mean love your queen and country. If you're a patriot in Boston, you cheat at football. Testing the room there, testing the room. Okay, so we'll leave the Patriots jokes there for a little moment. So, ladies and gentlemen, this show is called Wit and Mirth, which might seem like I'm massively over-promising for a one-man cabaret based on 300-year-old material, but it is, in fact, the title of this book, which I have borrowed, not stolen, from the Harvard Library. This book by a man called Thomas Durfee, or later in life, Thomas Durfee. So he actually changed his name and put an apostrophe after the first letter to make it sound more French and more sophisticated. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Now, I've been trying this out myself. I actually have a job other than this. Surprisingly, these shows don't pay the rent. And my job is teaching music at the Lycée International de Boston, or if you're common, the International School of Boston, where I teach music to French children, and they like to Frenchify my name. So to the students, I'm usually Mr. Hughes. But if they have a French accent, I might be Mr. Hughes. That's not a bad one. Another one I get, which is slightly worse, is I'll be teaching a 12-year-old and they'll say, Mr. Hughes. My job's on the line here, guy. Come on. But the worst one, ladies and gentlemen, is if I'm teaching a group of sort of 11, 12-year-olds and I get in a sultry French accent, Mr. Huge. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is something I want to hear said to me in a French accent, but not by a 12-year-old boy. And the truth is, ladies and gentlemen, and this might come as something of a surprise, I'm actually something of a nerd. Give you an idea of how nerdy I am, I have watched every single episode of Time Team twice. Now, that might be a niche reference from an American audience. Does anyone know what Time Team is? Anyone seen that show? It was one of Britain's... Yes, someone on the back is nodding. It was one of Britain's longest-running TV shows. It ran for 20 seasons. It was intensely popular. It had ratings in the tens of millions. So what was it? Was it a cutesy baking show, perhaps? Was it an epic historical fantasy? Was it a cloyingly romantic comedy? No, ladies and gentlemen, it was in fact an archaeology show. Each week, a bunch of university professors and professional archaeologists would go to a field in the middle of nowhere, dig holes in the mud in the rain, scrabble around for pieces of broken pot and stone, and get very excited about what they found. The chief archaeologist on the show was the late, great Professor Mick Aston of Birmingham University. And he used to have sort of flowing blonde hair and rainbow jumpers. Very, very good fashion sense, I think. And he had a thick black country accent, and he would sum up the episode something a bit like this. Well, actually, Tony, I think you'll find that the fact that we found nothing at all is actually very interesting. Because it tells us that nothing at all was going on here in the Middle Ages.